While most of Europe and indeed much of the rest of the world is in lockdown, millions of residents are adapting to a temporary new way of life. But it seems to be pretty much business as usual in Sweden. The country has resisted implementing the same stringent measures as its neighbours, even though 300 residents have died from the disease and almost 5,500 people have contracted it. Well, joining me now is Professor Jan Albert of Infectious Disease Control at Karolinska, at the Karolinska Institute. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Professor Albert. Can you tell us, first of all, how normal is life in Sweden today compared to before the virus?
It's quite different, and to say that we do not have lockdown is not really true. But it's not enforced in the same way by law as it is in many other countries. But we are instructed very seriously by the Public Health Institute to be careful about both contracting the coronavirus and spreading it onwards. So many offices work from home.
We are seeing a lot of people walking around behind you. As I understand it, shops and bars are still open. And of course, the fear in other countries has been that that's been sources of contagion.
Yeah, so there are some differences, definitely, but people are not living normal lives. And many of the restaurants and also the shops are experiencing really low business, and we do see the same type of effect on the economy as you do in the UK and many other European countries.
Do you think that possibly in 2 weeks' time or so that Sweden will be in line with the UK or France or Italy or Germany?
I wouldn't say. I don't think it will be exactly the same. There may be some ramp up of the prevention activities, but probably not to the same extent as in many other countries. And the underlying reason is that the scientific evidence for what's sort of right or wrong in this is not there. So everyone is doing guesswork.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But most other countries, if you like, are bowed to the international consensus. What is it that has persuaded Sweden that this is not necessary?
Well, I think it's in part that we have, since very long, the government is relying very heavily on their expert institutions like the Public Health Institute, and they are really well trained in these types of decisions. Many actually of the heads of epidemiology at the Swedish Public Health Institute were trained in the UK because the UK has very good tradition in infectious disease control and research on transmission and things like that.
And we've had an argument in this country about the way of dealing with this. There was an attempt to talk about something called herd immunity, and then that was abandoned. In terms of dealing with this outbreak, what is the intention of the people advising the Swedish government? Do they just simply say it doesn't matter if everyone gets it, or are you trying to limit the extent of contagion?
I think there is a misconception in many places that this will be in some way contained without herd immunity. Unless we have a vaccine, which is at least a year or two away, herd immunity is the only way to really sort of defeat the disease. The issue is whether you think that if you push cases forward in time, you will have a better situation when it comes to health care. But eventually, everyone will, or a large proportion of any country's population will have this disease unless we have a vaccine.
You're the expert, I'm not, but as I understand it, with herd immunity, there's also this argument about mortality rates, that if you simply go for spreading in the community, you're undoubtedly going to end up with a higher level of mortality than you would if you attempted to stop contagion.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason why also the Swedish strategy is to flatten the curve and to delay or to prevent having cases at the same time. But there's no by pushing cases forward in time, they will still be vulnerable to infection when a lockdown is released. So it's more finding the correct balance here with a lockdown that has in effect. We have very strong protection activities.
Professor Albert, thank you very much indeed. Much more coming up in the next hour.